Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, a very, very special week for me in my life, and can't wait till Friday, man.
I'm assuming this is the week that your oldest son, Mark Jr., gets married.
No junior.
Mark?
No junior.
No.
No junior.
How do you have a... Wait,
second.
Oh, what's the difference?
I'm the first. He's the second.
So you can either say second or junior?
No junior.
When do you call someone junior? Okay.
When it's classified as junior. He is not a junior.
But is it just a classification?
Well, it's his name.
I know. What I'm saying is there a difference between the second and junior? Is it the same thing?
Yes.
You just opted to go with second?
No. There's a difference.
What's the difference?
One is junior, one is the second.
That makes absolutely...
That is his name on his birth certificate.
Right, but you could have gone with junior.
I could have.
You just opted to go with...
The second.
Okay.
Anyway, so...
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, we'll see. It's been very chaotic. Man, I had to do a very, very tough thing on Thursday of last week.
What's that?
I had to pick up the phone and start calling people and tell them that they couldn't come to the wedding.
What do you mean? Oh, because
we got restricted on the number of people.
Well, I guess it's a good thing I did an RSVP for that then, Mark.
You would have got a phone call.
How about that?
So
My lack of preparation comes through yet again.
This thing was originally scheduled for, when was it? April or March or whenever. And actually it was May. So now it's going to take place in July. We're just wanting to get it done and move on.
Sounds very loving and caring.
Well, when it gets postponed, the fact of the matter is we don't want it to get postponed a third time.
Right. I hear you. We got a lot of info to pack into the next 5 minutes because we have two guests today on a Monday edition of Bass Talk Live.
Yes. That was your segue. Keep going.
The 200-pound man, Justin Lucas, if you've been watching, they're wrapping up the knockout stages or the first two stages of the BPT, the final BPT event up on Sturgeon Bay.
Yes, sir.
And Justin Lucas caught
hammered
over 200 pounds of smallmouth. And I wasn't able to watch the first day, though, Mark, because I was playing the BPT drinking game where I took a shot of tequila every time they mentioned Berkeley Mac scent on the show, right?
Look at that. Look what I've got on the screen.
What do you have? Brad Hallman
Where's
there?
Brad Hallman at?
There we go. And I was on my way to the hospital to get my stomach pumped about halfway through the first period, so I didn't get to watch the last 2.5 periods there.
They were pumping that stuff pretty good. They're catching them on it. What do you say? Is it coincidence or valuable placement? Valuable product placement.
It's a combination of both.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff obviously works, and it's
it works.
Obviously a coordinated product placement. At one time, you had the angler catching him on the Mac set while Marty Stowe was talking about the Mac set while they were interviewing the guy who developed the Mac set.
I saw that.
And there was a logo on the screen as well.
Yeah, it was to the max. Pardon the pun.
It was, but
it was definitely
Lucas
maxed out.
Absolutely crushing everyone else, and he will enter the final round ahead of it. Fletcher Shryock talked about the last episode. Go in second in the Angler of the Year race that is now a 2 or 3 man race. It looks like it might come down to Wheeler and Jordan Lee, which would be insane because you had the 2 classics, you had the BPT titles that Lee has, and now you'll start throwing an Angler of the Year into that mix.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so
that's very cool. Very cool. I watched a town hall meeting last night with the software producer that we have to try and see if there was a more streamlined way to do that.
Is there?
There is not yet, but they're working on it.
Can people hear that little?
Yeah, they heard that.
Yeah,
I haven't figured out how to eliminate that yet. I'm trying.
Is that what you getting it in the queue?
Yeah.
All right. So then the second half of the show, we have Brian Robison, who I'm pretty sure if you're in the fishing world, he became famous because he was a badass football player. But in the fishing world, then he did the hook set sack celebration, and then he retired, and then he started a YouTube series, the transition season last year. This year he's doing the progression season. But me and you have been having some business talks, disagreements, discussions over it, and he was like, man, I kind of like that show. I kind of like the talk. Well, come on and talk about it, because he's a guy who's been there and done that in the, lack of a better term, the real world. You know what I'm saying?
When it comes to professional sports.
Agents, sponsors, contracts, the whole 9 yards on it. So, I mean, we'll get it before we get on. I want to do the whole career stuff in like 30 seconds, because he's done a ton of interviews on that. You can go back and watch all that and how I got into it. I want to get into it, where he is now, where he sees it, and how he views the professional fishing industry and competition and the way it's set up, as opposed to a multi-billion-dollar industry that he was at the pinnacle of for a decade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Another big announcement from Bass and the Zaldanes about this lifestyle, behind-the-scenes reality series that's going to be on YouTube. That kicks off today, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it launches on Bassmaster. So.
And Amazon has something to do with it. I wasn't crystal clear on the whole Amazon tie. I know it's going to run on some Amazon platform, but I don't really know what the correlation was, or didn't understand, and that's on me.
I'll get with Chris.
I just didn't understand what the relationship was. Was it a Bass relationship? Was it a Zaldane relationship? Who's getting the money?
I'm just saying there's a number of different ties here, and I want to make sure I get it right. So I'll talk to Chris about exactly what it is and what's out there. But I know that they've been working on this series. If you've noticed, they've had filming and a bunch of different stuff, but then there just hasn't been a lot of content. So I called him up. I was like, well, what the hell are you doing with all this content? Like, I mean, most people have a tournament, the content comes out, boom, there's the video. Yeah. He's like, dude, we're working on something, man. Just be patient. So I guess this is what the stuff is.
And obviously with me, I want to know the business tie.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So I'm sure once it launches, there'll be a lot more publicity and stuff on the Bassmaster website on what it's about.
Our contact at Major League Fishing, Trisha Milford, actually sent us an email that gave us a breakdown of kind of the remainder. We won't go into it now, but if we have time, we'll touch on that. If we don't, we'll touch on it on Wednesday.
A lot of information in that email.
Yeah, a lot of information. All right, now, tomorrow, no show. My good friend and I, Ed Barton, are going to be battling out on a very, very tough Arkansas River, from what I understand.
Yeah, I saw your tackle assortment is
3 boxes,
sitting by the grill outside, and it is 3.0 boxes. I saw a lot of swim jigs.
Yeah,
a lot of spinner baits.
Yeah, that's it.
Swim jig and spinner bait?
No, and some creature baits.
Does Ed ever slow down, or is he just power?
No, he'll pick something apart.
He will?
Yeah, but it gets to a point where if he feels that there's just nothing on there, boom, he's gone.
Does he get pissed if you guys aren't catching him?
No.
He's really
mentally tough.
Yeah, he's been doing it forever.
Yeah. Plus, it's his backyard, literally. It really is his backyard. It is, his land backs up to the Arkansas River.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I wish you the best of luck tomorrow.
A short day, though. We're only fishing till noon, but we don't have to walk through because it's the old man stuff. So you can just
but you
launch
have to
wherever.
You have to be back at Three Forks.
Yeah.
At what time?
Noon.
What time do you start?
Oh no, I'm sorry, 1 o'clock.
What time do you start fishing?
6 a.m.
So.
You got about 6 hours, maybe 5.5.
That's
more
like
than you had.
3 times the amount of time I had after locking through and having to be back.
Yeah. And then Wednesday's show, we will have a competitor from Sturgeon Bay that did not make the final cut, one of the top finishers that did not make it. We'll have him on Wednesday, and then we'll wrap up the week. And rehearsal dinner on Thursday, a bunch of stuff going on that I got to take care of on Thursday. That's why we're not doing a show.
And then he gets married on Friday?
Gets married on Friday.
You do have to do a speech, though, don't you, at the rehearsal dinner?
No,
that is what you do at the rehearsal dinner, I think.
Really?
That's, I think... I mean, I've been to 2 weddings in my life, and I'm pretty sure that, like,
the groom's parents or groom's dad makes a speech.
I think so.
I'll
At the
wing it.
rehearsal dinner.
I'll wing it.
You're going to wing?
Yeah. I'm not worried. Dude, I put together a 15-minute video that kind of documented
His life?
their life. Because
They've
they dated
since they were like 6.
They didn't come out of the womb together. No. Since they were freshmen in high school. Long time. 10 years. Long time. Super long time. So
I'll say this. I have heard you wing speeches like this, and it was a while ago, but I remember at your dad's funeral,
yeah.
you stood up and you gave one hell of an impromptu speech. I remember you talked about how he got you into fishing. He took you trout fishing.
Yeah, with the corn.
Out there in
corn.
California in the can of corn, and it was so I have full confidence that when it comes to these emotional matters like that you will pull through with an incredible impromptu speech.
Yeah, man, I got to be honest. I kind of teared up a little bit putting the video together.
You're tearing up right now. You're tearing up right now.
No, I'm not.
No, I could tell you kind of are.
No.
No?
Nothing like when I was putting the video together. Because I was in the studio by myself, nobody around except Izzy, the cat, and just some of the memories, some of the high school memories.
How old is he
memories. Now? 26, I think.
Golly.
Yeah. Dude, I'm old. You've been working for me. Been around for a while now, Matthew.
Yeah.
You're getting old. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a break. And
Lucas showed up. I see him down there.
Yeah.
Fashionably late, as always.
He looks tired.
Has he got his hat on backwards?
Yeah, he looks tired. Look, he's shaking his head. He's very tired.
Look, at 200 pounds, I can wear my hat backwards now.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with Justin Lucas here on a Monday, everybody. Stay tuned.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
Hey everybody, Todd Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
All right, we are back on a Monday, and we are ready to go to our special guest. How much do you think Lucas weighs? $160? 150?
I have never thought about that.
No guess.
No.
Definitely not 200 pounds, though.
No, he's probably packed on a few since Traeger.
You think?
Yeah, because he's always Traegering it up now.
All right, you there, Justin?
I'm here. I'm listening to so much BS over there. It's unbelievable.
How much? How much do you weigh, man?
Probably like 165, 168, somewhere right in there.
Oh, that's close. No, he just blew away his weight, man, with 200. Jeez.
Yeah, he did.
I got close to Matt's weight.
You know
though.
that you caught as much in.
Oh.
No, I have. I've packed it on. Did you know that you caught as much of the last 2 days as you did in the first 5 stages of the 2019 season combined? in your first two days.
I didn't, but I knew that you'd be coming out swinging with some stupid stuff like that. So it's all good, bro.
Well, that's not stupid. I mean, you did have you had a 87 pounds, 64, 13, 26, and 22. But I mean, it's crazy.
You just like it.
It's crazy what these smallmouth do when you get on a group of smallmouth. I mean, that had to be insane.
It was. I mean, unbelievable. I wasn't even going to start there. And the last 5 minutes of the ride through, I'm looking over in that area, and I have several spots in this area, and I look at the area, and I'm like, man, there's nobody over there. I'll go let me go start over there. And I idled over that spot, and when you can see smallmouth on your graph when you're idling, there's probably a bunch there because they like to get away from the boat. I don't know if they get away from the boat or they're so tight to the bottom. They just don't really show up on a graph that well, down image or side image. And I saw like 6 or 7 when I idled over that spot on down image. So I'm like, well, there's probably a few down there, but I didn't think there would be, what was it? 141.9. It was actually 138.9 off that spot specifically.
And then you caught one other.
Random I'm kind of bored fishing here. I need to go try something else. So I went and tried one other spot and caught a 3-pounder right away. And yeah.
All right.
It could get ugly on Wednesday.
All right. Justin.
I mean, my goal on Wednesday is 125 pounds.
All right. I received an email from a fan that could not watch the show today, Justin, and he wanted to know what was more difficult, finding the fish and getting set up on everything during practice or actually catching over 100 pounds?
Oh, by far finding the fish. I mean, that's what takes time. And it's taken me several years to finally, I felt like in 2017 at the St. Lawrence River, smallmouth fishing finally clicked with me. Like I was like, wait a second, I understand this now. And I can legitimately look for the same thing across the Great Lakes. Doesn't really matter which one you're on, and catch the fish, but it takes a lot of time to find everything that's the right ingredients. And no, I will not tell you what that is. I'll never say what it is because it's taken me a long time to figure it out, but it's very special once you do.
All right. So I was running the numbers. It's super impressive. 205 pounds, 6 ounces, 141 pounds, 9 ounces on the first day, 63 pounds, 13 ounces, 71 fish total, your largest fish of 406. And I kind of got into
63.15, and I really didn't even fish that third period. any of the stuff. Good stuff.
This is where I'm going with this. So this was the first I guess true big water northern smallmouth BPT. Every fish over 2 pounds counts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and venture to say the 2 pound minimum really didn't play a factor, because when you get out there, most of your fish are going to be schooled up that are over 2 pounds. Correct? I mean, it's not like you're culling through a bunch of 1.5-pounders.
Yeah, I think I've only caught maybe 5 fish in the tournament under 2 pounds, maybe
All
6.
right. So you're averaging your average fish is 2.88 pounds. You're averaging 35 fish a day. You're actually getting to fish for 7.5 hours of a full day, because you don't have to worry about runtime out or runtime back. So that's 15 hours of full fishing time. So you're averaging almost 4.7 fish an hour. And then 2.5 minutes to fight it, to weigh it, to get them in, because you're using the spinning rod. Like, would you say you're smashing them, or would you just say you're having a really good tournament and you're just on them a little bit better? Like, I mean, your numbers look astronomical, but I mean, you're just having really, really solid days, right?
No, I would say I mean, not being cocky, dude, but that's smashing them. Like, okay. I don't know how you do any different. Like, the only way it can be better possibly is if they were all 4-pounders or bigger, but then you're going to fight them all longer. So I still don't know if you could beat that weight then.
So you're in the perfect scenario.
Yes.
Okay. Because we're trying to put into perspective here. We've seen all the guys, like, I mean, how many times have you been on a bite this good in a 5-fish format and it just doesn't show out because you only bring 5 in?
One time, Lake Fork, when Keith Combs won with 111 pounds, I had 97 for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I remember that week, I was legitimately tired of catching 5-pound fish. Like, it was boring. And I only caught 1 fish under 3 pounds that whole week. And I was catching like 20 a day there. Mm-hmm. So that possibly 20 a day average was 5 pounds. I mean, you're not going to beat that there either, I don't think.
But in your opinion, what you're doing is special, and it'll be hard to beat 205 pounds for 2 days, regardless, even if you go to smallmouth fisheries in the future. I mean, you think you'll be in the record books for a while with this number?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it'll be close. You know, I think the 141 is going to be really hard to beat. I think the 77 pounds in one period will be really hard to beat too.
Yeah.
And the 200 could be beat. I don't know, man. Hopefully I beat it on another smallmouth place one day.
There you have it. All right, Justin, I want to know, on the first day, how quick did you get off the juice? Did you stay there a long time? And then when you left the juice, did you actually find more juice?
So the first day I pounded it all day long, except for the last 10 minutes. I never started my big motor. And, once I started my big motor, I left and I caught a 3-pounder in the last 10 minutes off another spot. But I literally never moved, never started the big motor. I've never done that, in a tournament day ever, like sit on one spot for that long. So that's the other thing, right? Like, you have to have one spot. If you're running around, you're wasting time, and you're not going to beat that weight either. So I knew the weights were going to be really big here. I didn't think they were going to be this big, but I thought they were going to be pretty big. And that's why I tried to find a lot of spots in a really small area. And, I think I've got, as long as we got a 45-minute ride around tomorrow, I'm going to use that probably to try and find, in case they did move, like where they might go. But yeah, man, I'm excited to get back out there.
One of the things that I noticed towards the end of the day, yesterday, I believe it was, Gary Klein had a big day and jumped into the top 20. And on the MLF Live watching it, he was catching a few. And I was wondering, is that something you're concerned about? Should you end up fishing again? Like, I mean, is he on the juice too?
I have no comment.
Okay.
No comment.
I'll just ask it because it was live. I watched it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could see it. I mean, it's public info. All right. We're good with that.
That was just a little, yeah.
I'll be
Jeez,
tuning
man.
in on the final day then, depending on who's
I'll
in the
tell you
top 10
this,
for sure.
I might not even fish that spot where I caught all those fish. So, like,
You're
I might
dialed
not
in.
I might not even fish there.
You're dialed in.
It's not far from where I really want to fish. So if I need it, I'll go over there. But that'll be if I need it. I feel like might be struggling a little bit.
All right, is this a one rod tournament? And what I mean by that, Justin, obviously you're going to have other rods as backup rods and everything, but is this a one rod deal?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I had 7 drop shots rigged on the deck of my boat. So, but I love to drop shot. I mean, you can catch these fish on a Ned rig and probably a few other, there's probably a couple different ways to catch them, but drop shot, smallmouth, deeper than 15 feet of water, like I love it, and I really, really enjoy it. And it's just, I don't want to put anything else on the deck of my boat. Plus, like that Berkeley Maxent flatworm. I mean, you guys tell me. You guys are watching the show. Do you think that worm is the real deal or what? I don't want to say anything. They're my sponsor. What do you guys think?
It caught a lot of fish. I'll say that much.
Lucas, Suggs, Bertrand.
Those are all the people that were using it.
Bobby.
Yeah.
Edwin. Probably everyone that's on the Berkeley. I mean, you would be dumb not to be using that thing.
It's crazy.
But I've literally used that worm next to people now. And a couple different times where they're close enough fishing to me that I watch them take off their hat and scratch their heads and they can't figure out what's going on. And I'm like, it's thinking it's the worm. That's the difference.
You're throwing what, 8-pound test on your leader?
6-pound braid to 8-pound fluorocarbon. Yeah.
6-pound breaking strength braid or 6-pound diameter braid?
6-pound diameter. It's like 12-pound break strength.
Oh, okay. So here's just a random question. I've always wondered this. So, like, you've got them fired up in there, like, you're fighting the fish on the 8 pounds. Like, hypothetically speaking, let's say you go to a 15-pound test leader. You think you'd still catch any on that? I mean, you'd be able to winch those suckers in, boat flip them, grab them.
I don't think you'd catch any.
Really? You think those
probably half
fish are line shy then?
You'd catch half or less than half, maybe 30% if I had to guess.
You think these fish are going right back down to the same school? Like, I mean, you think you're going to, do you feel
but
like
I
out of the 70?
I haven't caught one yet that I felt like, might have been caught.
Really?
Like there were so many there. It was unbelievable.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
Water clarity.
I mean, there's a big spawning bay right behind there. And this is like the perfect spot for them to set up on. And this spawning bay is 3/4 of a mile by 2 miles deep or something, so you got to think about how big of an area that is. That's like a little lake, or whatever. And how many fish spawned in there. I read the reason I'm fishing where I'm fishing is I read something in my research here that there's 8,000 smallmouth bass estimated that spawn in Little Sturgeon Bay. And that is like a third of the size of the bay that I'm fishing. So I just estimate that there's probably 30,000 or 40,000 that probably use the bay that the area I'm fishing to spawn back in there. And they're not far from that stuff. So it's like 5-foot clarity. You're asking about clarity. It's about 5 feet deep out there. And they're just on those first spots out from where they spawned. And I think what happened in practice from what I saw is a lot of guys were just looking too shallow. I think they were hoping these fish were still going to be up spawning or, close to the bank and stuff. And a lot of guys wasted time doing that.
It's pretty impressive.
Man.
I got handed to him. We had texted before this thing started, and I said, "On fire or nah?" And Lucas just said, "Yeah, it's good." And that's all he said. I mean, like he knew slugfest
he
or
said
not.
slugfest or not, and I said all I text you back was slug.
Yeah, he knew it was going to happen.
Well, it happened. It definitely
So,
happened.
like you said, best case scenario, you're in the final round. Obviously, no reason to lay off of them. If they are where they're set up and it goes down, what do you max out at?
Well, I mean, I would love to have 125. I could come in with 50. Or I don't know if I could do 141 again. That's tough, but 125 could happen, I think. I want to win,
you
dude.
could do
like,
200
I really,
in a
really
day.
want to win, so I'm setting the bar at. No, it's not even possible.
Just because of how long it takes
You
to catch
would
them.
literally catch one. Dude, the first day when I had 141, I caught one I did the math. I caught one every 9 minutes. That didn't count weighing, putting a worm on, or fighting the fish. And I never moved. So you're talking like hooked up every 5 minutes all day long on average. That's insane.
That is.
I mean, I'm not giving credit to myself. Anybody could have done it off that spot, but I don't see how you beat that.
So you max out at 150, basically. No, I'm hype. We don't have any. We don't have
the
any
threshold.
Yeah, we don't know what the thresholds are.
It's new territory, man. It's new territory.
Wow.
So I think 150 is like got to be. If somebody did that, I mean, unbelievable.
All right, man. Well, just an unbelievable couple of days, and just super impressive, man.
Well, I did it for you guys. You know, I know you looked at my first 3 tournaments. And I know you guys are talking behind the scenes over there, going, "What's up with Lucas? What's Lucas doing?
Yeah.
What's going on over here?" So, just wanted to get you guys in a better mood over there. About me, anyway.
It was a statement. He made a statement, Matthew.
Yeah. What hat are you sporting there? What is actually on the hat?
This is my power pole hat.
Oh, that's old school. Those are coming back. The
Yeah.
pointy top with the rope around them.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a
That's
number
cool
of
hat,
guys
dude.
wearing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got up. You guys made me get up early. I'm supposed to have 2 days off, and I had to come in and work for you guys.
I know. We heard
That's
you
how
were
much I like
complaining.
it.
We heard you were complaining about having to get up and come in.
Well, I just asked if I could do it at where I was staying, not have to drive 30 minutes. But
No, you
I'll
gotta
drive
have the-
30 minutes for
You
you
gotta have the
guys.
fancy background.
Yep.
All right, man. We're gonna let you go so you can go back to bed.
Hey, I'm not going to bed. I got to get some stuff done. My wife's flying in, and I'm probably going to go fishing later. Honestly, there's a couple little lakes here, so go check them out.
All right. Cool stuff. Anything else, Matthew?
No, it's all good. Congrats, man. Very impressive to watch, and it kind of gives me a little bit of perspective as to what the, you know what I mean? Like you get a guy who's approaching it, and then you're like, okay, that guy's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at anything over 130, 140 starts to get up there in that threshold of physically not able to be beaten.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be glued. Can't wait to see what happens, Justin.
I appreciate it, guys. Hopefully
All
it's a
right,
good
man.
day Wednesday.
All right, man. Best of luck to you. Hopefully we'll talk to you next week, man.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. There you have it. Justin Lucas. What do you say? Hooked up every 5 minutes?
Nine.
Yeah, but when he takes everything out of it, it was
No,
like
it was every 9 minutes that he was hooked up. He said that included the weighing, the catching, the rigging, the whole deal.
Yeah. Man, that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and I hadn't done that. That's why I was asking all the numbers questions was you reach a point where you have a guy who you cannot catch them better than that guy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can have a lot of weight, but if you're talking about like a lot of cookie cutter fish, a lot of 3.2s to 3.10s, occasionally a 4-pounder. So you know basically what you have when you're hooked up, and you get a guy who gets in the lead and maintains that pace, you can't catch him. You physically run out of time to catch him.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've been on the Great Lakes. I've been on the Great Lakes. The kind of days that you can have, yes, but to continue that momentum and once every 9 minutes, dude, I'm kind of blown away.
Mm-hmm.
Did it get boring?
I mean, it didn't get boring. I mean, it was kind of the same thing over and over. But like I said, if I'm going to watch the same thing over and over, I'd rather watch a 4-pound smallmouth get caught than a 15-inch spotted bass. Fair point.
Yeah, the bite to the fan was, is he going to land it?
Yeah.
Especially when you had a 4-pounder on.
Yeah.
Even a 3.5-pounder.
Yeah. You think him and Gary might get into it
That
on the
was
final day?
interesting.
I wasn't trying to be
That was
controversial. I thought that
quite-
was. Did you not
quite
think that was a
interesting.
legit question?
Yeah. How many times have we had no comment on this show, though?
Once
Not
or
very
two-
often.
Once, I think they were all Justin Lucas's.
No comment.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I don't know. That might be something to,
Did you
pay
happen
attention
to be watching it during that time?
I did not.
Okay,
No.
so look, here's the first photo, and this is an hour left in the day. Remember, Klein went on that big time roll, right? And made it into the cut. So they're watching Klein, and then boom. See him in the background there?
Oh, yeah.
And then Klein hooks up, and Lucas says, here's my opportunity. So here he comes while Klein's fighting the fish. And then in the next one, there he is.
Huh.
It seemed like he was a little concerned. Like, oh, Gary
something to
found
watch.
the nuts. But who knows? I mean, that's why I asked him. I mean, he obviously had a number of different spots.
He has more juice spots.
And Gary's got to, Gary's got to make it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a break and come back with our other very special guest, Brian Robison, coming up here just in a few minutes after this break. On a Monday, everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine, offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Popper to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, I mean, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a grate for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back on a Monday. And very excited about our next guest. Going to talk a little bass and business. It's always my favorite subject.
It is.
On
It's
the show.
the bass end that usually for the last 4 years is just business, and then this year you just decided to go catch 20 pounds every time you go out. Brad and I were having this talk. Brad was like, you realize that Jeffries has had more better days this year than me and you combined. And I was like, I know, every freaking time he goes, he catches them. It doesn't matter what species.
Well, let's hope it's one more day.
Striper, largemouth, lakes all across the state, by yourself, with other people.
Tomorrow's going to be the last day for a while.
What are you predicting tomorrow?
It's 4 fish.
4 fish?
Yeah, 12 pounds.
Nah, I think you'll have like 14. I think you'll catch like a 5.5 that eats a swim jig right at the boat. You'll just lift it in, and Ed'll be like, where did that come from? You'll be like, the lake.
The river.
Weigh him in, get your $140, come back and marry off your son.
That would be a good week.
Yeah.
Be a great week. All right, it is time to go to our next guest. Very excited to have our next guest, Brian Robison. Let's bring him in there. Brian, you there, man?
I'm here. Can y'all got me good?
Yeah. All right. I want to preface everybody, the internet connection that Brian has is not the greatest, but we're going to make do with what we have. And that's part of the cost of living where you are.
It's very true. We're out here in the middle of nowhere. We got our nearest neighbor's about, I don't know, a quarter mile that way. Our next neighbor's about half a mile that way. So, yeah, internet service is just popping everywhere around here.
Well, first of all, we greatly appreciate the shout out on Instagram. Hence, that's what kind of spurred this action to get you on the show, and greatly appreciate the comments about the show. But I'm really excited about talking a little bit about your adventure, your journey in this bass fishing world, and kind of talking a little business because of some previous discussions that we've had on this show about professional athletes in all aspects, including fishing. But right now, how much fishing are you doing right now in the summertime down in Texas, Brian?
Unfortunately, right now, I'm not doing a lot. But the reason for that is because I have not had a boat. I'm actually going tomorrow and picking up a brand new boat. So after tomorrow, I'm going to be on the water quite a bit.
All right. Based upon your buds down there, what's fishing been like in Texas?
Man, it's hot. It's been tough at times, but at times it can be really good. They're definitely offshore. They're down in those 20, 25 foot depths on those ledges. Brush pile fishing is huge right now around Texas. So yeah, the deep bite is definitely on. Tie you on a big old worm or a big old shaky head or something like that. Maybe a 6XD to a 10XD and go throw it out there, and then you'll catch them.
All right, I'm curious. We had Matt Reed on the show a few months ago, and he told us that the best month to go to Falcon is August. That is when you're going to catch the biggest fish, not in the spring, but in the heat of the summer. Have you ever been to Falcon in the summertime?
I've been in Falcon in July. I've not made it in August. And I can tell you we did catch some big ones there. Another lake that's really notorious for that down here in Texas is Lake Fork. July can be, you'll catch the bigger ones probably in May when they first get offshore and things like that. But July can be really, really good as well. They'll really group up and get those big schools out in that deep water. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the hotter it is down here, the better that deep bite gets.
It's crazy.
And you're fishing the southwestern division of the Toyota series this year?
Correct.
Okay, so you have one under your belt and then 3 remaining.
Yes. And I should have just fished one day at the Toledo Bend deal.
That could be a sketchy Toledo Bend early in the year is hit or miss.
Yeah.
Dude, I went out. So the first day I go out and, I was on not really anything great, honestly, but I was catching it here and there. And I thought, okay, if I can just give myself a chance after day one, day two, I think I might be able to make some. Well, guess what I didn't do on day one? I did not give myself a chance. I zeroed, caught 10 unders. So I went out the next day, and what I had done in practice was I actually was kind of getting on. I could pull up to a brush pile or something like that, and I could throw an A-rig over the top of it. And I normally could catch a decent one. Well, I just didn't keep it in my hand enough day one. So day two, I pretty much had one rod on the deck, and it was an A-rig. And I just went out and threw it at all the same stuff I fished the day before. came in with 14 pounds, and I'm like, I wish I'd done that day one.
Hey, I was looking at point. You salvaged some good points though.
Yeah.
In that deal. So
Absolutely,
the ultimate goal then is FLW Tour next year.
You know, I get asked that a lot, and for me, right now, I'm doing it more so just to keep my competitive nature, you know, kind of at bay. And I spent so many years being away from my family. I've got a 5-year-old boy who's turning 6 this week. I've got an 8-year-old girl. I've got a smoking hot wife. So I just I just have wanted to spend time with them. And but it's slowly starting to get to the point where that competitive nature is starting to take over a little bit more. I find myself getting a little bit more pissed off when I don't catch them. So it's kind of funny. Like I kind of want to do it, but at the same time, I kind of want to be home. And I know if I get into that aspect of it, it's going to take a lot of time away from my family.
Eventually, though, is that where you want to get, or do you just want to be successful on that? Like, what's the end goal with the tournament fishing here? Like, you have guys who fish it, and are, you look at like Dickie Newberry, who fished at that level in your area. Now he's fishing the tour, but for a number of years, he's like, let's see how many dozen BFLs I can win. he got guys like Castledine down there who did it for 10 or 15 years, and then he jumped to the tour. Like, what's your end goal? Like, do you want to be the first major sports superstar to transition? Because we've seen it in the past, guys who were successful in professionals, but we haven't seen one that's actually transitioned to the tour level or the Elite Series level yet. Do you want to be that first guy eventually?
I think I would like to be that first guy. I think for me, it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of me also knowing that I'm not quite at that level yet. I'm never going to sit here and say, oh, I'm a pro fisherman. Like, I'm just not at that level yet. And a lot of it comes down to just time on the water. I just haven't had that time on the water to be able to react to the things that are going on. And so for me, I think eventually I would like to get to that point. And obviously if we are able to qualify for that point, then we'll circle the wagons there. But I think that's an opportunity that I would like to have.
All right, professionalism. You mentioned, that term here in your last statement, and Matt and I have gotten to multiple discussions over the year on the definition of professionalism in bass fishing. What would you classify professionalism in bass fishing?
Man, for me, because of my little bit different background, for me, I count those guys that are, fishing the tour, fishing Major League Fishing, fishing bass, the elites. I consider those guys the pros because they are at the top level of their game, and it just, that to me is what it is. It's almost like and this is no disrespect to anybody, but it's almost like a guy that plays in the NFL, and he has a conversation with a guy, and this guy says, oh yeah, I used to play pro ball. I played semi-pro down at the, Saskatchewan Reindeer. It's not the same. And so, and that's nothing wrong with those guys. You play for the love of the game, but at the end of the day, like, that is not, to me, that's not the pro level. Like, when you're at an elite level, like these guys are, that to me is the top of the game, and that's considered a pro. What we're doing right now, as far as me being a coach, things like that, a lot of people would consider that being a pro. You pay a large entry fee. You go in there, and you got the jersey and the rat boat, and you've got sponsors and things like that. And yeah, I mean, if you look at the true definition of it, yeah, maybe you could be considered a pro, but to me, that's not the top level that you can get to.
11 years with the Viking. Did you dress every single game that you were in the NFL?
I missed 3 games my whole career.
Right. So, okay, over the time, is there ever a guy that you looked at and you're like, how the hell is this guy in the NFL? Like, that you played with on your team that was just because, I mean, you get that at fishing, and you have, let's say, you've got guys who fish at the tour level and stuff, and you're like, how did this guy get here? and it goes through the qualifying procedures and that, which we'll get into. But does that exist at the NFL level? I mean, is everyone at that level like pretty damn good?
Far superior.
Yeah.
I think once you get through everything, everybody's at that level, and what separates guys is talent wise, strength wise, physical shape, all that. I mean, it's pretty even playing field. You may have an anomaly here and there, but what sets guys apart is the mental aptitude, the getting in the film room and setting themselves apart and knowing the other guy better than he knows himself. That's when you start to see guys separate themselves. But as far as early on, like before cuts, like used to, it was you could put 75 guys and then you go through camp and you dwindle down to 45 on game day roster. Mm-hmm. Well, now you've got 90 guys that show up. So as bad as I hate to say it, there's some guys out there that are part of that 90 that first get there and it's like, yeah, man, you're a cool dude, but probably not going to make it past the first guy.
All right, so let me bleed off of that a little bit here, Matt. I have substantiated this argument for years that professional fishing, and I think we're kind of going in that direction, professional fishing needs a tiered level that truly defines what a touring professional is. In other words, for lack of a better term, a true minor league system of which the structure is there. Everybody that fishes know exactly what the structure is. They know what their status is.
And they're there to qualify for the next tour. The
exactly.
next level. They're
what
there to
thoughts,
qualify
Brian?
for. That is their main goal.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation many, many times in the past couple of years, and I could not agree with you more. I think for me, these guys I don't think get the recognition they deserve as being true ultimate professionals. You saw a few weeks ago when the elites went to ESPN2 how many viewers they had.
Yeah.
That to me is a big turning point for what we need this industry to be. And the reason I say that is because, okay, when you look at the major sports out there, they are the elite major sport. I mean, NBA, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, all those, they are the epitome of what everybody wants to go to. Right now, in the fishing industry, there's so many options out there that it just gets spread out. There's no one organization that says those are the dudes. And to me, like, until we get to that point, we're never going to get to the point and the opportunity that these guys get paid to go fishing. I've said all along that there's like two sports in my mind that the people in those sports love their sport more than anybody else. And that is rodeo and that is fishing, because they're probably the only professional sports out there that will pay an entry fee for an opportunity to win money. Okay, not even win money, an opportunity to win money. And to me, that is ultimate love for your sport. Because if you ask me if I'm going to go out there and bang myself around with 350 pounders and stuff like that all day, and I'll pay you $1,200 to maybe win a little bit of it. Nah, I'm out. And I love the game of football, but until we get to that point where there is a structured system where you work your way up to this level, and then that level is it. That's when guys are going to get paid like professional athletes.
All right, you're sacking people, you're setting the hook, you're talking on the sidelines to your buddies about bass fishing, you retire, you jump into the Costas. Did you know at the time, in the grand scheme of things, $1,200-$1,500 entry fee, not that big a deal to you for what you were doing on the field, but did you know the payout and then the return at the time, or did it take a while? I mean, did you have that moment where you looked around and you're like, dang, there's 150 guys here that are spending $3,000 for a chance to win $2,200. I thought from the outside, this was a lot, I guess, bigger and more lucrative than it was now that I'm actually diving into it head first.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew a little bit because I kind of dabbled a little bit with tournament fishing before I really jumped into it. And, for me, I guess the big eye-opening experience for me was the very first Costa that I ever fished actually was at Sam Rayburn. Mm-hmm. And I went down there, I paid my entry fee. I go in the first day, I got like 17 pounds. And I'm like, dude, I might get a check in my first like real tournament, you know? And so I go out the next day and, you know, I scrounge up just enough to get a check. I get a check and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, wow, I got my entry fee back. That's awesome.
Were you nervous? Were you nervous going into that first one, the launch, sitting there before the morning? I mean, you're the captain, you're running the show now. You run through a bunch of crazy stuff and smoke and stuff, but I mean, did you have some butterflies going?
I did. I definitely did. Actually, probably the most nervous I've ever been, and this will get me back onto you, Matt. You made a comment in one of the shows that you pulled up next to me and saw me in the morning, and I was just kind of didn't say hi. Well, next time, listen, I'm going to say this. Next time you don't say hi, I'm going to jump in the boat with you. Simple as that. I love people. I love talking. So say hi. Say hi. But that tournament actually that you're talking about, to kind of get back on that point, yes, that tournament that you're talking about last June, I was super nervous, and it was because I had been on fish all week. I was on pretty close to 20 plus pounds every day in practice. And I was really nervous. I actually had my wife had called me during practice one day, and I think it was like Tuesday. And she goes, well, how are things going? And I said, babe, if these fish stay here, I may win this tournament. And I was being dead serious. And then I went to check those fish on Tuesday before we started on Thursday. So 2 days before, I went to go check those fish, and I got like 2 bites. And I was like, oh, God. And I don't know if you remember this, Matt, but they were pulling water like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was on a flipping bite, of course. So I tried to go back maybe to the next transition area or something like that, see if maybe they pulled out. I wasn't getting bit. And I was so nervous. And, of course, I ended up weighing like 12 pounds and 11 pounds or 11 and 12 back-to-back days. And I just never got a big bite. I mean, that was the one thing that I was getting throughout the week was I was getting at least 1 or 2 big bites. And so, yeah, when you pulled up next to me that morning, I was actually boat number 1 that morning, and I was nervous as all get out because I was like, I'm either going to put on a show or I'm going to go bury myself in a hole.
Is there anything that you've experienced in your life, like the 10 minutes after the national anthem plays before the boat takeoff and the 20 years that you spent prior running out onto the field before the game? Or is that a very similar feeling to you?
It's a different feeling. I still get those same butterflies, and I still get amped up, and I still get excited. For me, it always came down to both sports. It comes down to love and passion for that sport.
Mm-hmm.
If you truly got a love and a passion for a sport, you can get yourself amped up if there's nothing going on. But the difference is with the NFL, you had so many more antics and everything else like that. So I guess the anticipation of it all was kind of like, it just kept building until kickoff. And then it was just like you'd go out there, run out on a field and do the first play and you'd be out of breath and you think you're out of shape. You haven't ran in 16 weeks, and like fishing's a little bit different because I still get that amped up, excited mode, but that building anticipation from, fireworks and smoke and running out of the tunnel and 80,000 people yelling. Like, it's just a totally different deal. I mean, I still get the same feeling, but it's a little bit different.
Do you consider fishing a sport?
Absolutely.
You consider it just a sport right along with the others?
I do, because here's my deal. As it may not be as physically demanding, it's probably one of the most mentally draining sports that there are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, you look at golf, for example. Golf may not be the most physically demanding sport, but when you talk about hand-eye coordination and you talk about just all the little nuances that they go through, I mean, there is a technical aspect to that. Not everybody can just go out there and do it. And I feel that's the same way with fishing. There's a lot of people that try to do it, and then there's a lot of people that think they can do it, but
you're
at the end
good.
of the day, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a great fisherman. You have to be able to make adjustments on the water. You have to be able to put your time in doing map study, things like that. So to me, it's one of the most mentally draining sports that there are out there, because there's so many decisions that go into a day. And that's the thing that people don't realize. Like, what we do as tournament fishermen is not your everyday, hey, I'm just going to go grab a pole. We're going to go sit down, drink a beer, go fishing. Because I've had buddies like that. It's like, oh yeah, I want to go fishing with you. And then I get up on a trolling motor and we're on, we got it on 6 or 7 the whole day. And they're like, dude, slow down. What are we doing? Like, this is not what I think of fishing. I'm like, this is my fishing. So let's go.
You do a YouTube series. This will be kind of my last question along the professional aspect, and I'll let Mark get into some of the questions. But last year you started was the transition season, obviously transitioning from the NFL to fishing. You had Brandon Polinick, the Shryoks. You spent a lot of time in the boat with some of the top pros in the country. This year you're calling it the progression season. Just started out a couple weeks ago, dropped the first episode with Josh Douglas, great guide up there on Mille Lacs. So you've spent a lot of time in the boat with a lot of guys who are at the top of their game. Having spent a lot of your time around guys who are at the top of their game, do any of these guys, have you gotten in the boat and noticed that they all have certain traits, certain characteristics that the more you spend time with them, you're like, all these guys do this or think this way? Or is it kind of eclectic? It just works different for everyone, in your opinion?
Man, a little bit of both. I mean, the one thing that I noticed being on last season with the transition season was when you saw one of those guys that something clicked in their head that the fish were doing, you could see that from a mile away. I mean, it was just like they'd be fishing, same thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure things out. They're trying to figure things out. And then all of a sudden it was just like their whole demeanor changes. And probably the guy that I saw it with the most was Seth Feider last year. If you watch that episode, I mean, that dude just went into an insane zone, and it was like I might as well just grab the net and just got ready every time, and then he wouldn't even let me net it because he should do boat flip everything. So it was just when things clicked for him, it was like he was a man on a mission, and it was like he was in that zone and watch out. And but yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like, you see, they all take almost the same approach. Like it's like, all right, we're going to go from here to here to here, and we'll see where we're at after that. It just, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences.
All right, I want to get into a little bit of the business side. Matt and I got into a very deep discussion about the Patrick Mahomes contract, signing for $500 million. And that conversation went into, well, what does this mean for quarterbacks in the future with him signing a 10-year deal for $500 million? We kind of migrated that conversation into why aren't professional anglers, and I'm talking tour guys, not the guy that just fishes the Thursday night jackpot.
Swindles, Poliniks,
Yeah,
KVDs,
the big name
Jacob
guys.
Wheelers.
When they sign endorsement deals, why are those numbers not announced in part of the press release? Because my thinking is, if the model worked the same way, if those numbers are public, is that going to drive what that revenue or what that contract is going to be worth because of what everybody sees in that contract? Because if Swindle signs for $50,000, well, then what is the marketability of Kevin Van Dam? Is it $100,000? In other words, is there a correlation in professional sports with the announcement, and why was your salary public knowledge, and why does that take place in all professional sports, even from an endorsement standpoint with Tiger Woods, with LeBron James, with so many athletes? When the endorsements come out, is that feasible, and does that argument make sense from a professional fishing standpoint? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the deal with the NFL, and I'll explain it to you from this point. I've never really got a clear-cut answer on why our contracts and stuff are public. Like, there's at some point I'm like, I really don't want people to know how much money I got in the bank, at the end of the day. But at the same time, I've always wondered, is this maybe a certain deal for tax purposes? So it's public knowledge that this is what we're paying a guy. This is what I don't know. That's just something to throw out there. But at the end of the day, I think it helps set the market. So for example, if I know DN such and such has just got paid a $40 million contract, and I've made more sacks than him over the last 2 or 3 years, well, I deserve to get more than $40 million. And I think it becomes a negotiation bargain. Now, when you talk about the fishing industry, part of me thinks that maybe we just haven't reached that realm yet, as far as kind of what you said in the show. Maybe it's just not enough interest in that side of the business yet that people are interested to know what guys are making. Maybe it's something that companies don't want to know how much people knowing how much they're paying a guy because of, having to do the sponsor talk and things like that. And then maybe it's part of it that that guys really don't want people to know what they're getting paid, because either maybe they're getting paid more than what people think or less than what people think. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a debate that can go on and on and on. And I think you guys hit on some great topics when you guys talked to David Walker and stuff about this deal. But the NFL is a little bit different. Like when you look at numbers of the NFL, a lot of people don't realize that they were a nonprofit organization until 2015 when they gave up their nonprofit tax ID. Okay, so a lot of people don't realize that. So if you think about it, you look at the money that they made over those years, it was not taxable. And then they ended up giving up the money and then moved on, and they've actually started making more money. And so when you look at the numbers, I think in 2007, when I came in the league, the NFL made like $7 to $8 billion that year. Okay, to where in 2018 they're up to almost $15 billion. So they've almost doubled their money, and they're talking about by 2027 they're going to make $25 billion. Okay, so when you look at it, paying a guy $503 million over 10 years is like me picking up pennies and just there you go. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is, right? Yeah. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the fishing industry. In order for the fishing industry to get where I think it needs to get, you have to get TV involved. You have to get these ESPNs, ABC, CBS, whoever it is involved, because when you look at it, probably half, if not close to half, of the NFL's total revenue comes each year from TV contracts. I bet they make at least $5 billion a year off of just TV contracts before the season ever gets started. And so for me, like, that's how we gear the fishing industry. If we can gear it towards getting put on TV, that money comes to the fishing organization. Therefore, it trickles down to the fishermen. Then maybe we make public what everybody's making.
Structure. It kind of goes back to that structure thing. All right. I'm curious on this question, Brian. A lot of discussion about the Mahomes contract. And we've had a discussion about bass boats, about the fact that bass boats, eventually you're going to see a bass boat for $120,000. We've seen bass boats now, if they're fully decked out, that surpass the six-figure mark. Eventually the consumer is going to say, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm not paying that much money for a bass boat. I want to take that example because I don't know when that is, all right? Because now they've stretched the payments out to 20, even sometimes 25 years to manage to get that bass boat that people want. Well, my question from a Patrick Mahomes standpoint and $500 million is the fan ever going to say, you know what? I'm not going to pay $1,250 for a ticket to see a football game? Or are we not even close to that point where the fan finally decides, wait a minute, time out, I'm doing something else with my disposable income?
I think there's definitely a line that there probably comes to. I don't think we've reached that yet. And the reason I say that is because you're talking about one guy getting paid that amount of money. And there's a big misconception that every guy in the NFL gets paid $1 million plus. Well, that's just simply not true. You really only have a handful of guys on each team that make more than $1 million, if you really look at it. So the majority of your guys are probably making whatever their base salary is, base minimum, whatever like that. So for me, for example, my final year, I renegotiated, took a pay cut, and as an 11-year vet, I was going to make $1.013 million. Okay, that is an 11-year vet minimum. And that's what a lot of guys will play at unless they have a deal in place. The other thing is that people don't understand, and I don't know how Patrick Mahomes' deal is structured, but let's just think hypotheticals here. Okay, he's got 2 years left on his rookie deal. So the 10-year deal doesn't kick in until when? 2021, correct?
Right.
So if he goes out next year and throws 15 interceptions and goes out the following year and throws 15 interceptions, do you think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to pay him $503 million?
I would hope not.
They have the opportunity, because his extension has not kicked in yet, to cut him, and the only thing they would have to pay him is a signing bonus.
All right.
So there's ways that teams protect themselves. For example, like I said, I don't know how it's structured, but let's say after year one, they pay him $50 million, and then year one, he doesn't do very well. There may be a clause in there that says, hey, at midnight, that your guaranteed money is only guaranteed at midnight on March 12th, 2022. Well, if they decide, well, he's just not paying out, we'll just cut him before midnight or release him before midnight, and now we don't have to pay him the rest of the contract. So that basically what happens is a team takes a guy, gives him a deal that he wants, but they still have something to fall back on. Like, okay, we're going to pay this guy a lot of money because the signing bonus and guaranteed number is going to be way up there, but we don't necessarily have to reach those parameters, if you know what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So there's ways for them to kind of get around that type of stuff.
So when we were talking about the $1 million contract in bass fishing, where I was like, heck yeah, someone's surely had to have $1 million contract. Jeffries wanted to bring up the incentive-laden contracts, which exist. I remember, there used to be guys that were with a boat company. They make the classic. They get to keep that boat. They don't have to make payments on it. That's equivalent to a $40,000, $50,000 deal.
That's been around for a long time.
What it sounds like, and you are you and me, we're fishing the same level now. We are tournament anglers who are looking at people who are anglers who are there, who have achieved it, and then we're making our purchasing decisions based on either performance, what we like, someone who tells you something on it. I get back to where I'm going here. Fishing contracts, in your opinion, then, having been in the contract world for so long, incentive-laden contracts are the way to go to ensure performance for both the company and the angler to get paid for what his value is then. Would you agree with that?
I agree and disagree. So I agree at the fact that moving forward, there definitely can be incentive-laden base. So what you get a lot of times in your major sports is when a guy looks at a deal that's very highly incentive-based, normally they're apt to turn it down, unless it's just astronomical numbers that you just kind of got to take because I feel like I can do that. Well, bring that to me. But if it's like, okay, for example, me, I was always a good defensive end. I was a pretty good defensive end, but I wasn't a great defensive end. I'll be the first one to admit that. I was a team guy. I went out and did what
Yeah, you were pretty great. You started everything. Look, 9 sacks, 8. I mean, you tackle it, you start. Okay, yeah, you were the man. You know that for a couple of years. You could say you were the man. You had like a 5-year stretch where you were damn good.
I mean, listen, I was a great defensive end, but I was even better off the field. So there you go. So anyway, my point is like, if there was a deal in there that said, okay, we're going to give you a $20 million deal. Let's just say that. Just throw that number up. But $10 million of it's going to be incentive. And out of that $10 million, $8 million of it's going to be if you get 15 sacks a year. I'm probably going to turn that deal down. Not that I don't have the confidence in myself to do that, But at the end of the day, like if I would have taken that deal, go look at my career stats. I never hit 15. So I never would have seen that money. So I'm going to be more apt to take a deal based off of what I've done for you already. And hey, this is what I think I deserve. This is what we're going to go after. So I think there's a fine line on that. So when you look at a guy like, let's say, KVD, KVD's probably not going to take incentive based because he can sit there and say, look what I have done. People follow me. People listen to what I got to say. So this is what you need to give me. Whereas a guy who maybe like me and Matt, we break into the elites or to the tour or whatever. It's like, we really don't have anything to our name yet. So if a company comes to us and says, hey, we'll give you this amount of base salary, but then if you win a tour level event, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Heck yeah, let's do that.
I like it. We've had that discussion. I think it's a great way for if the structure was in place, Brian, that would be the perfect situation. And when I say the structure, I'm talking about single A, double A, triple A, big leagues. If that structure was in place, I think you would have more structure from a compensation standpoint, both in a minor perspective and a big league perspective. You agree with that?
I agree 100%. And listen, this is not me drawing lines in the sand with any of the organizations or anything like that. But to me, the ones that have the best structure right now, to me, is Bassmaster. When you look at it, they've got high school, they've got college, they've got opens, and then they've got the elites. Like that is your structure. There's no way around it. There's no skipping one to get to the other. Like it is what it is. Like, and that's how you work your way up. And to me, until there's one organization that has that structure, we'll never get the sport of fishing where we want to get it. I think Major League took a huge step in the right direction as far as trying to go with the no entry fees, because I think that's where those guys should be. They shouldn't have to pay entry fees. They should be getting paid a salary to do what they love to do because they are the best of the best. But I also feel like maybe we started that too fast, too soon without having some of that money coming in to cover that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not bad-mouthing anybody. Like I love all the fishermen out there. I love all the organizations out there. I just think in order for us to get this to where it's considered a true professional sport, there has to be one tier, one pyramid, if you know what I'm saying.
One of the cool things that I think about professional fishing is the accessibility of the top raked anglers. Now, in all honesty, part of that accessibility is due to the fact that there just aren't that many people demanding their attention. I mean, they're not getting 1 million people sending them messages a day. Fair, if they were, the accessibility wouldn't be there. You've been in that boat before. But you've gotten a lot of the top guys in with your Reel 'Em In Foundation and the tournaments and charity guys and guys that you fished with, and just kind of talk about getting involved with that aspect and the accessibility and ease of working with them for the Reel 'Em In Foundation, the Canines for Cops, the tournaments, and all that stuff that you've kind of become friends with all these guys 2 or 3 years after your retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. And that's one of the things that I love about this industry so much is it just seems like everybody is just down home good people. And that's what I love about it is a lot of those guys that I've had. I mean, I've had KVD out there. I've had Swindle, Zona. I mean, I've had some of big names out there. Polinick, those guys. Polinick's been involved with so much of the stuff that I've done over the last few years that we've become really good friends. Same thing with Hunter Shryock and some of those guys. I could go on and on. But, you know, I think for me, what I loved about this industry was not only how accessible they were, but how much they just wanted to help, how much they just wanted to be involved, how much they just wanted to be there. And it wasn't anything that like I had to bargain for these guys or anything. It was like, hey, can you do this? Well, yeah, I mean, if we can make it work with my schedule, blah, blah, blah. And then I get a call a week later, hey, dude, I'll be there. I've got it in the calendar. Like, it was just the easiest thing ever. And you would think like some of those guys that like the KVDs, things like that, they would be, and they are pulled in so many different directions that they're not going to give you the time of day because it's just not feasible for them. But the fact that they go out of their way to make sure they put time in the calendar so they can be there, that to me speaks volumes about how these guys go about their daily lives.
And then talk about the foundation, where everything goes, the tournament. I know you had to cancel it this year for the pandemic, unfortunately, but I mean, that's kind of cool that you just decided to get, right into that kind of charity aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We basically, what we've done in years past, we've put on 2 tournaments a year. We do one in Minnesota, one in Texas. It's an awesome event. So basically what we do, it's called the Reel 'Em In Foundation. And we basically make it like kind of a 3-day event. So you get there, and on Friday you have an auction night. So everybody goes in this room, you pay a fee to get in to have dinner with all of our celebrities and things like that. And we auction them off. We pair a professional fisherman with a celebrity or an athlete, something like that. We've had guys like Luke Combs out. We've had numerous football players. It's truly an awesome event. And those guys get together, we auction them off, and whoever wins that bid gets to fish with those guys the next day in our VIP tournament is what we call it. So they'll go out the next day and fish from whatever time we go out, because it's super relaxed, like let's just say 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you get to fish with these guys. And then you come in, and we normally have like a little VIP dinner that everybody kind of hangs out. And then the next day we have an open tournament where anybody can get in. We normally charge a $250 entry fee, team or individual. It's per boat. They go out and they fish, and all of our proceeds goes towards Canines for Cops, which takes either a police department that can't afford a canine or has lost a canine in the line of duty. We replace that dog for them.
All right, man. I want to throw this idea out to you. You talk about the competitive nature of this game, and I think Texas would be the perfect place to do this. And I have brought up this idea from a national scale, but even if you micro-sized it down to the state of Texas, I think it might be cool, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I always think that something that is missed out on team fishing from a team competition is everybody considers it, it's you and another guy in a boat, and you're competing against everybody else. What would you think about if there were lakes that had representation of say 10 anglers? So let's say Sam Rayburn has a team of 10 anglers, 8 anglers. I don't know what the right number is. All right. But you have 6 teams across the state of Texas. You have a North Division, which would be Texoma, Ray Roberts, and then I don't know what's another
Whatever.
lake.
You'd have a team. It'd be like the Sam Rayburn Hydrillas versus the Toledo Bend Stumps.
Yeah.
And it would be a league, and Jeffries has been on this for like 5 years.
Dude, 3 teams in the north, 3 teams in the south, Falcon, Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend. You set up a schedule to where you fish for 2 days, and these teams actually compete against each other one-on-one. And then you have a championship at the end of the year. Now you've created a branding of this particular area of which these 10 guys can really kind of bleed and really promote this team that they're involved with, besides just an individual aspect of which the angling community might actually rally around. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that could definitely be done. I just don't know how many people you'd want to – I don't know how many people would want to do it. And I only say that from an aspect of, okay, my buddies, we could form a team 100%, but there's just some days that I just want to kick the crap out of them too.
But you'd have everything else to fish. You know what I'm saying? Brian, you might have an individual tournament. Let's say you might team up with Bass Champs, okay? And on Saturday, this event might take place, and then you have the Bass Champs event on a nearby lake, or vice versa, or whatever. It would obviously have to coordinate, but I just think it is another way for a team aspect to rally the community around this particular team and actually try and brand this team to grow what is taking place in the area. Am I way out there?
No,
is this just left field?
You can tell him if you think he's wrong. That's what we do on this show. If you think
Yeah.
it's a horrible idea, just say that's a horrible idea.
So here's what I will say. This is not the first time that I've heard this argument. I've heard it based off of a national level of doing state by state by state. Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard of that deal. So this is not the first time I've heard that. It's just going back to what Matt just said. I don't think I'd want to do it.
So here's the thing. So, dude, how much do you appreciate going out and being a complete controlling your own destiny? Now I know and all the, but you spend so much of your time around a team. Now here it is, 8 hours. Every decision you make, the outcome is a result strictly of your decision making and not what other guys on your line are doing, what someone else is doing. It's all you. I mean, is that something that has drawn you to fishing?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, like I've got pretty diverse sports background. So, a lot of people know me for the NFL side, but they don't understand that I also did shot put professionally as well. And so I've kind of had that aspect of a team sport, but also an individual sport. And the one thing that I always appreciated about some of the individual sports, like fishing, like shot put, like, any of the track and field stuff, things like that, is in a team sport, you can suck, but it gets hidden. If you know what I'm saying, like people can make up for your mistakes or something like that. Or, you get lucky and you mess up 10 times in one game, but they ran the ball the other way. Well, it doesn't show up. Whereas fishing, if you suck, and everybody knows you sucked.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, the first day at Toledo Bend, I sucked and everybody knew I sucked. Because they're like, what'd you weigh in? I said, I didn't weigh in today. Oh, man, you sucked. So
right.
it just, I think that scope gets very narrow over the top of you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, Friday night, I was involved in a bowling deal. I don't know if you've listened to this show. I'm big time in the bowling.
He was a pro bowler for a number of years.
Was going to go on the senior tour this year, and then that got defunct. Anyway, there was a Oklahoma versus Texas match that took place in Oklahoma City. It was the first time this has happened in 35 years. And Texas absolutely kicked Oklahoma's butt. It wasn't even close. It was a blowout. I'm going to go back to the team thing. How about a Texas versus Oklahoma? You pick your team, you guys show up at Texoma, and you guys go mano a mano. Would that be something that would interest you?
So one of my really, so I have a couple of really good buddies, and they know Texoma very, very well. The issue I would have is they're from Oklahoma. So I got two buddies that I know really well, Jeff Reynolds and Bradley Holmes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact I would be fishing against them, and that's tough, man. But I'll tell you this, for competitive wise, I'd be down for it.
Okay. You may do a home and home. I mean, why not have it, one weekend in Texas and then the next weekend on a lake in Oklahoma? Would you be up for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Texas picks the lake, Oklahoma picks the lake, and you go on down the road. I'd like to see that, Matthew. I really would. You don't care.
No, I do. I was thinking. I mean, remember you did that. You were actually like an announcer for one. Didn't Wade do it on Falcon?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Back
It was
in
like
10, 15 years ago.
It was longer than that. It was 20 plus years down on Falcon.
Here's
Anyway.
one thing that I could say about that is it would get your local communities involved because they would be backing that deal. So you would be getting a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
As far as like, okay, if you have 10 people from Zapata, like the town of Zapata is going to get behind those guys, especially if they're doing really well.
Yeah.
So you're going to get more people involved. So I do like that aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility of something that could happen. It just has to be put together the right way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You got anything else, Matt?
Yeah, you need to bring 96 questions to the fishing world, dude.
Yeah.
You there?
Did we lose him?
Oh.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Like, that was some gold. Like,
Yeah.
you could that would be big.
And the thing is I've been trying to get this thing going again for a while. Like me and the Vikings just haven't been able to figure that deal out. But I have actually thought about like, okay, well, let's just take this to the fishing world. Let's just go to a tour event and let's just go ask some crazy questions. Like, I mean, obviously the best one that was ever out there was the dating your sister deal. Like, I would like to turn that question around and say, I'd like to turn that around and actually ask the guys, like, which guy on the tour would be most likely to date his sister?
Mm-hmm. Huh. Hey, here's one thing I wanted to talk with you about that we didn't get into. And you're like the only guy we could have on who understands this. So rivalries. So like I remember you talked a thing like Packers versus Vikings. It's like the rivalry. You got you against Brett Favre, quarterback against quarter. I mean, that's like a lot of why people watch it, right? And you have this guy hates this guy and all this stuff. Like that doesn't exist in fishing. Like we had Justin Lucas on today, and he's maybe not sharing spots with another angler, and he's like, I don't really want to get into that. Do you think there needs to be more rivalries in fishing for these tournaments where you're like, oh, I wonder if these two guys are going to go at it like it is in every other sport? Are fishermen too nice, I guess is my question.
I think, yes, fishermen are too nice, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think, and it's funny you were mentioning this because I just mentioned this a few days ago. I said, man, one thing I was really good at was I kept my mouth shut and I just played ball. But if somebody like talked smack to me, I was, lack of a better way of putting it, I was going to get up in your ass. Like it was on and popping. And I just told somebody the other day, I said, man, I wish I could do that sometimes on a fishing, trails and things like that. Somebody, you get that guy where you're fishing, you catch a fish, put it in the box, and then this guy rolls right in up on you. And I'd like to just be like, oh, yeah, I've been fishing this spot all week. I'm wearing them out and blah, blah, and just start talking smack to them. And then, like, while they're not catching them, be like, yeah, man, these girls don't like you. You just need to go on down the road. Just, I'm trying to be PG right now, but that's not what would be coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. But do you not agree if it was a multi-day tournament? So that happens on day. See, here's the thing. The controversies in fishing, like I can name them all right now. Like it would take a million years to get all the different controversies. It starts out with Aaron and Byron and Tharp and Heron and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can just go down the list. There's like one every 2 or 3 years and then it's squashed. Well, like imagine day one, Brian's there fishing a ledge. KVD pulls up. Robison's like, you said you were on 20? Well, I've already got 22 in the box, Kevin. Then Kevin's like, oh, and you get into it. And then you know that the next 3 days, those guys are going to be there battling it out. And it's like a rivalry between it. I think that draws people in.
You also find out real quick who's mentally strong, because that's the one thing about crap talking in the game of any sport is you can mentally wear a guy down. Like if you are talking smack to him and then all of a sudden you start to beat him, that weighs on a guy very heavily because it's like physically this guy's beating me and mentally like he is just letting me know that I suck really hardcore right now.
Yeah. And in a sense, I mean, I think fishermen are immensely tough because it's the only time where you have like no distractions and you get to think for 8 hours. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes through your brain when it's not going well. It's amazing how little goes through your brain when it is going well. You're like, fish this stretch, move, fish this stretch, catch fish, call fish this stretch. That was easy. How did everyone else not have 15? When it's not going well, it's like, oh my God, there are a lot of things going through my brain right now. So fishermen are really mentally tough, but in the same sense, and you'll know this, Brian, you're not on them. You come in from practice. Let's say you're on a drop shot bite or a shaky head bite. Pull up next to another dude, doesn't say much to him. You go, you catching him? And he goes, yeah. And you look over, he's got 3 swim bait rods on his front deck, and it's the day before the tournament. Instantly, I'm like, what did I miss? I'm totally screwed on this. I completely missed the bite. Like, my mental game is gone. That's so emotionally weak. You know what I'm saying, though?
Oh, 100%. And here's the bad part about it is like that is an underlying way of smack talking because that guy probably never threw a swim bait the whole week. He's probably got 4 drop shots tied in the rod too, but he put the swim bait rods on there to make everybody else think that they're screwed.
Yeah.
strategy.
I mean, you would do that with the guy you were going up against.
I think it would be fun, but I also think like it takes away from what a lot of people love about this sports, which is these guys just put their nose to the grindstone. They go out, they do their jobs, they come in, and they don't let those things affect them. But I also think it would be like maybe we, there's like 15 leagues out there anyway. Maybe we create another league where it's like Smack Talk and Bass Fishing League.
They tried that. It was called the XFL. It's lasted a quarter season each time.
Yeah, it didn't hang around. Hey, who was the greatest offensive line trash talker that you played against? Do they even talk trash? I mean, it just seems like they're out there taking care of business.
It's funny because I'll answer this question for you. So, God, I don't want to answer this question. So my sophomore year at Texas was actually the first year that I played defensive end, and I got halfway through the year and was like doing okay. I was like figuring things out, and then of course we go to the Red River rivalry, and I play against Jamal Brown. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who Jamal Brown is. Right. Probably, had it not been for injuries, I think he probably could have been one of the best offensive linemen to ever play the game. This dude wore me out for like 3 quarters. I mean, it was horrendous. Like I felt like I needed to go back and crawl up in my mommy's arms and just have her like put me to sleep. It was that bad. I would go to the sideline and literally just put my head down and think to myself, how long is this going to last? And it was bad. And but he would talk so much dirty stuff, man. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. And he made me feel like those were the things that I wanted. Like it was that bad.
Wow.
That was 15 years. That was over 15 years ago, and it's still fresh in your mind.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very traumatizing experience for me.
Wow. All right, man. I got a couple other things, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah.
As far as your bass fishing game, what do you think you really need to work on to improve your game?
I think the reading and reacting to what's going on around me. I get so set into what I think I should be doing that I don't make the adjustments on the water when I see something. For example, we fished a tournament not too long ago, and I got in my head that I need to be in brush piles. I need to be throwing big worms, shaky heads, crankbaits around all these brush piles. Yet I see on my graph that the shad is suspended, the bluegill's right behind them, and yet I'm still poking at a brush pile. And I'm like, I'm forcing that issue. And for me, it's like reading and reacting to that, hearing a lot of guys come back in and saying how they caught them on, weightless flukes and this and that and all this other stuff, spoons. I just didn't react to that. And so for me, that is one thing that I think more time on the water will allow me to do that. When I see those situations, I'll know how to react to them. So that to me is what I need to work on, because if they're where I think they are, I can catch them. But the problem is, and Matt can attest to this, 9 times out of 10, when you get to a tournament, they're not where you think they should be. So you got to react to that situation.
Mm-hmm.
What's your electronics game like? Are you dialed in from an electronics standpoint?
Man, deep water fishing is my jam. I like shallow water flipping and frogging and all that stuff during springtime, but I like it when they get offshore and I can just go out and graph them up. And, it's funny, like me and my buddy were having a conversation that originally we thought, okay, shallow fish get beat up a lot more than deep fish just because more people fish shallow, right? I think that game is turning. I think there's becoming a lot more deep water fishermen than where we're accustomed to, and it's actually starting to probably overtake the shallow water fishermen. And so a lot of those schools and stuff that you used to have that nobody knew where they were, like people are finding those schools now. But that is my deal. I actually had never deep water fished before. I had never fished over 6 foot in my life until I met a buddy of mine who lives up in Lake Fork. His name is Skeeter Fowler, and we got together and started fishing together and stuff like that. And he showed me how to use electronics and how to deep water fish. And so since then, I've been kind of hooked on that deal. Like anytime somebody tells me, oh, yeah, they're out deep, I'm like, let's go launch the boat. Let's go.
So you're a student of the game. You just don't like to go fishing. You like to study it and work on your weaknesses and strengths and see yourself progress.
Absolutely. I like, that's the one thing about fishing that I like is the challenges that it presents me. Is, you can never just go out there and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. You're just going to keep catching them. Eventually, one day they're going to serve you a big old piece of humble pie, and they're going to make you eat it. And that's what I like about it is, like, you always have to have that mental game going where it's like, okay, I got to see this, I got to react this way. Or before you get to a lake, you need to do your homework. It's not just show up and go launch the boat and go 10 yards down there and make a cast.
My last question: what are your thoughts on the Carolina rig? It's Jeffrey's go-to. Yeah. Be honest here. You're a deep water guy. Be honest.
I don't mind a Carolina rig, but I would much rather be jumping around with a crankbait or I love a good crankbait bite. I like when that line goes slack and you just lean into them and they start pulling. I love that type of deal.
You get Jeffrey's here. You give him an option of what he could fish. He would love to do nothing more than just drag a ball of chain around the bottom for 24 hours.
That and a top water.
Is that not weird?
That's it. And a football jig.
A little bit. But here's the deal. I'd much rather do a football jig. I'd much rather do a big shaky head, Texas rig worm, something like that. I can do a Carolina rig. It doesn't bother me as much as throwing, per se, like a wacky worm. That is just something that, for me, is I'd rather just, I don't know.
Really?
I'd rather go swimming.
Even up shallow, power fishing it around docks?
Yeah.
Really? What do you got against the wacky worm? Because that's, if someone was to put my feet to the coals and say pick two things, I'd say wacky worm. That would be my number one thing. And I power fish too. I also like to drop shot. So what do you have against the wacky worm?
This is what I have against the wacky worm. I have too much ADHD for a wacky worm. I need to be doing something. Okay, so I can do it. Don't get me wrong. So when we fished Amistad last year for the Costa.
I unfortunately remember that.
Yeah, I threw a Ned rig for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the slowest Ned rig I've ever seen because I would throw it out there, count to 30, drag it 6 inches, count to 10, drag it. It was miserable. And the only way I could do it is put a butt seat in the boat and sit down. I don't know. I got to be moving. I really do have ADHD, been diagnosed for a long time with ADHD. So for me, it's I got to do something. I'm like Ricky Bobby, what do I do with these hands?
We need to have a chat about this wacky worm because like you, I too have been diagnosed with ADHD for a very long time. But dude, I dig the wacky worm, but I treat it like power fishing, man. It's engaging when I fish it. So we need to have a chat about the wacky worm there.
He goes nowhere without it.
Maybe you got away.
How much do I love the wacky worm, Mark?
Yeah, he doesn't go anywhere without a wacky worm.
He
had a wacky worm on the river for crying out loud.
In that mid 2000s, Cody Meyer, Brian Thrift, all those guys Dudley, all those guys who just cash check after check after check on the FLW tour, and you're like, dang, the top 10's the exact same. This was before the live coverage and stuff. A lot of that damage was done on a wacky worm. And it's interesting. 100%. Each guy fishes it a little different. You can have weightless, you can have weighted, you can have Nico rig, you can have it chicken rigged, you can have it 8 or 9 different ways. You got guys fishing it open water brush piles, docks. You got guys power fishing it where they're only hitting it on the fall. You got other guys that are tap dancing that thing down there around the cross braces. There's a million different ways to fish that thing. Now, some of them are really boring. I don't ever fish it weightless.
I got a buddy of mine that he will fish it weightless, and he'll throw it out there, and he says what he does, he'll throw it out there, he'll click the reel, he'll put the reel down on the deck, and then he goes back and gets a drink and crackers and stuff like that. Then he goes back and he picks it up, and if there's nothing on it, he just casts it again. And I said, dude, that would never work for me. I was like, do you see how big I am? I would be 400 pounds if I did that because I'm going to eat a whole pack of crackers every time I make a cast.
Wow. All right, man. Last thing for me, I tried to find it. I looked for it last night. I couldn't find it. I actually still have somewhere my 7th grade science notebook with all of my assignments and my projects. And the reason that I kept it, I was a huge Minnesota Vikings fan when I was a kid growing up in LA. And Fran Tarkington, the Purple People Eaters, I mean, that is what I grew up with. And I had the Viking logo all over this notebook from 7th grade. And I couldn't find it. I wanted to show it to you. Have you ever met Fran Tarkington and any of those vintage players, the Purple People Eaters, Alan Page, any of those guys, Brian?
I have. I've met all of them, and they are awesome people. And I've actually got a lot of sports memorabilia built up over the years. And one of the coolest things I think I have is that we got a picture that's like I don't know, 10 by 10 or something like that. And it's a picture of all 4 of the Purple People Eaters, and all 4 of them have signed it. And it's pretty cool. It'll be definitely up in my room for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that was just a great time to be a football fan. All right, last thing, man. Is it going to be weird, and do you think that we're going to get to the point where we might have OU versus Texas with no fans? Do you think that's even going to happen?
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, to me, I would love for that game to happen, but without fans, I mean, from a standpoint of outside looking in, without fans, that is hard to have that game because the fan experience is such a major part of that game with the split down the middle. And, you know, you get the fans involved in that game probably more than any other game that's played in the country, in the world. And that's what makes that game so special. Now, from a player standpoint, I don't think it's really going to matter for them because at the end of the day, like, they're going to see that garnet jersey and they're going to see that burnt orange jersey, and they're going to do everything they can not to throw fists at each other. So, you know, that's not going to change. But from the fan aspect, man, it's hard to have that game without fans to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough. All right, man. I can't thank you enough for taking time out. Just some really cool insight on professional football, your thoughts on professional fishing. And I know this Oklahoma-Texas thing has happened. I know some guys, Castledine and
Hallman,
they came up here and they had a little deal, but I hopefully that will continue, and we'll continue to see that thing develop to where we can rally around that. But man, wish you the best of luck with your fishing adventures, and it's been really cool having you on the show.
Yeah, hey, man, I want to say this real quick. My buddy Shane Howell was the one who turned me on to Bass Talk Live, and thank you, Shane. Love these guys. Hey, I would love to be on here anytime you guys want to have me on, and I appreciate it very much, guys.
All right, man. Take care. When's your next event?
My next event is actually September at the Fort Gibson Costa, so I'll be coming through there.
Yeah, you'll be about half an hour from the house.
Yeah,
from my house, the farm. You mentioned that. My girlfriend's a barrel racer. I fish. We pay a lot of entry fees. We'll leave it at that.
So my wife is a barrel racer and runs her own horse breeding business. So yeah, we have a lot in common, man. You should have said hi that morning.
She does all the WPRAs and all. I mean, we just got back from what's Gary Klein's hometown?
Killeen?
No.
Weatherford?
Yeah, we just got back. She just ran in Weatherford.
My wife just ran in Weatherford.
What day did she run?
She ran Friday.
Kinder ran Friday. Was she in the perf or slack?
She was in the perf.
What number was she?
I'm not sure. I would ask you, I'd ask her, but she's probably at the barn.
They know each other. I guarantee they have to know each other probably then.
Well, there you have it. You guys can hang out. When's the next event?
Kinder Minor ran Thursday. I can't remember. It runs together.
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, no. Kinder ran Thursday in the perf. Okay, so Friday.
Jenny on Friday, and then she went to Mesquite on Saturday.
Okay, so were you there Friday? At the beginning, the guy jumped down with the American flag out of the airplane and stuff?
No, I wasn't there. I was
okay.
on daddy duty since I.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I guarantee they got to know each other.
All right, very cool.
Boy, you're on a roller coaster just like me then.
All the time.
All right, Brian, man. Take care. Best of luck to you. We will have you on the show very soon, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya. Wow.
Have more in common than we thought.
That was pretty cool. The only thing you don't have in common, the wacky rig.
And the 11-year NFL career.
A couple other things.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a small world.
Mm-hmm.
I even ran across somebody that Conway's son's girlfriend.
Yeah.
is into it.
I believe my girlfriend also competed against Larry Nixon's daughter the other night.
Really?
Yeah.
You just you got all kinds of things going on there. All right, that was cool, man. He didn't like the team idea.
Not a big fan, but I mean,
No.
think about it. The guy's been on the team and now is
individual.
I wanted to ask him what was more sponsor lucrative, the professional shot putting or professional fishing.
We'll get him back on. It's unfortunate that his internet connection.
Yeah, but the
is
audio
not that
was
good.
good.
The audio
there.
was
It's
real
just
good.
for the iTunes listeners. It just wasn't a crystal clear photo.
Video. That's what happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's on a very slow upload satellite connection there somewhere in East Texas. It's by Rayburn. Doesn't he live by Rayburn?
Yeah.
Or Toledo Bend or something?
Yeah.
Down there somewhere. All right, man. Very, very cool show and some interesting insight. Never thought about the $500 million and the way that he explained it, how the contract may not actually occur if he still, he still has 2 years remaining on his rookie contract. And the other thing is too, and I don't know if anybody listening caught this on some of the previous shows, I did get verification that yes, there was an individual and has been an individual to sign $1 million contract.
Okay.
That has been confirmed. Not for 1 year.
Multi-year deal.
It was multi-year.
One of the things that I was
Not gonna say who it is,
impressed with Brian's, and I'd watched some of his stuff on YouTube before, but with his interview was, I mean, he's not a guy who just comes over and goes, okay, now I'm going to be a professional fish. Like I feel like he understands it, don't you?
Yeah, he's really
like he
working
understands
at it.
the system
Yeah.
and that you have to have, you talk about that pyramid that I always talk about,
Yeah.
the foundation, the base, and growing up that way. I mean, it's like, if you just start at the top and make it, that's a problem with our qualification system and stuff. You have guys who are really good, but when you don't have that base, you don't have that knowledge base.
Yeah.
When you fall off the top, I mean, there's nothing underneath there to catch you.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he's like building the base. He doesn't seem like he's rushing it.
Yep.
He's trying to understand it. So I thought that was
Student
great
of
for
the
him
game,
to
man.
come on and talk about it for an hour and
Yeah.
stuff. And then also Justin Lucas trying to should we say it? If you read a press release, trying to make history, man. History setting, record setting.
It's because it's never been done before.
Right.
He's setting the bar.
We're still only
setting the threshold.
12, 15 tournaments.
Yeah. All right, real quick, I'm going to wrap it up. Look, folks, I'm going to say this. All right, please. This show, Matt and I have done this show for a number of years. We've been very, very flexible when it comes to making comments and people voicing their opinion. But come on, man. I get it. Some people out there don't like Major League Fishing. You don't like bass. You don't like this. You don't like that. That's fine. All right? But be nice. That's all I ask. Be respectful and be nice on the comments, on the instant feedback. And, let's just, man, can't we all just realize that there are certain situations? Obviously, we're trying to do our job. We're trying to cover the guys that make this happen, be it in bass, be it in Major League Fishing, and next year, be it in what, Matthew? The NPFL.
Mm-hmm. Let me just ask this. What does this show cover? Mainly.
Everything.
50% of the time, what do we talk about?
What do you mean?
What is this show about?
Fishing.
What type of fishing?
Bass fishing.
What type of bass fishing?
Professional bass fishing.
What is going on right now?
Professional bass fishing.
We're going to talk about it. Just like we talk about it if the Elite Series
I know.
is on.
If you don't like it, Okay, I get it. That's your opinion. But this platform is open-minded, covering all aspects of professional fishing. All right? That's all I'm going to say about that. Enough said, Matthew.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody got that? All right. So tomorrow I'm off to the Arkansas River with Mr. Ed Barton. We'll see what happens. 4 fish limit.
I'm saying 14.3.
That's a lot. It only
It's
took
less than a 4-pounder.
It only took like 12 pounds to win yesterday.
Yeah, you're with Ed Barton.
We'll see, man. We'll see. Back on Wednesday, folks, and might take a few phone calls on Wednesday. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what time and who we have on the show on Wednesday. We'll go from there, and then rehearsal dinner on Thursday, wedding on Friday, and the weekend is going to be relaxation after a very, very busy week for me.
Good luck tomorrow, Mark.
All right, man. That's it, everybody. Back on Wednesday. We're out of here.
Take you those. All right.